Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spiritual Underground podcast. As always, my name is Dan Reeves. I am your host here tonight. Just a little background on this podcast. Primarily over the years, it's been mostly 12-step recovery based stuff, but it's kind of evolved into just a gathering place for people who are out in the world trying to help other people get better. Help us all be, as a kind of cliche in a sense, but help us all be better versions of ourselves one day at a time. And I get to talk to all these wonderful people that are bringing light to the world. And as I say so often, if you're looking in certain areas, all you will see is darkness. And it's hard not to look at. But I also, by doing this podcast and keeping my eyes focused in certain directions, I get to see a lot of light too. And I don't know that I could. I don't know if I could do this if I wasn't seeing this light. My guest today is Barbara McAfee. Is that how we
Correct.
say the back one?
Yes,
Uh, yeah, that's the virus protection people too, I think,
it
isn't
is.
it? They are always I constantly am getting these emails where they've charged me $675 or
Not
uh,
me.
every week telling me that thank you for re-upping your virus protection. I'm like, no, that's not me. How are you doing tonight, Barbara?
I'm really well, really. Thank
Coming
you.
to me from Minnesota now?
Just about. I can see Minnesota from my front porch.
Okay, so you're on the Wisconsin
Technically in
side?
Wisconsin, but I am still a Minnesotan. I was born and raised and spent all my life here except for about a year in Paris.
Yeah. Oh wow, Paris. That's what I am so glad. This little town is called New Albany, Indiana, and I've really only I've lived in like four houses, but I could actually walk on a good day to all four of them. And I'm back in my childhood home now. I bought my parents' house some years ago, and then mom passed, and dad was moved back in with me, and now my 22-year-old son, my 88-year-old father, and my 56-year-old self are all bachelorhood around here today.
It's
It's
great.
pretty
Now
neat. I like
I've
it.
been about an hour from where I was born my whole life, except for that little jaunt in Paris in my 20s, which was good. But
Yeah, that would have been fun.
I love the land here. I love the water. I love the river I lived on the river where I live now is the St. Croix River, wild and
Hmm.
scenic. And then for the last 15 years in Minneapolis, I lived across the street from the Mississippi River. So I am a river rat.
Yep. And I live right on the Ohio River.
Oh, that's an important
That's
one too.
between the Ohio is between me and Louisville, and I
Yeah.
like it that way. Louisville's good, but I'm an Indiana boy. We used to do a lot of family vacations for years in Wisconsin. Daggone it, at the muskie fishing capital of the world. What's it called? Dang it, it's left me. It'll come at some point. They have a muskie fishing tournament
I'm sure they
festival up at
do.
this town, and I cannot pull the. We would go up there fishing and rent a lake house for a week
Yeah.
and piddle around on the water and have a good time. Had a lot of good memories up there.
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah. So you are a vocal coach.
I am.
You
Yeah.
will be my first vocal coach on the show. That's for sure.
Well, and I'm not when I tell people what I do, they say, "Oh, are you a singing teacher?" And I'm kind of like, "Well, what are we doing right now? We're actually speaking to each other." And before we even, like, we just popped onto this Zoom call and we saw each other's faces and then we said hello. And I heard your accent and you heard my voice and we started making up our minds about each other.
Yeah.
And some of it was about our faces, but a lot of it was about our voice. If I'd come on here and said, "Hi, Dan, how are you doing? Hi, Ann," you'd have a very different assessment of me. Or if you said, "Hey, hi, I'm Dan. Nice to see you." Those are exaggerations, but a lot of times our voices are not helping us fully express who we are and to really connect with other human beings. And so I just help people find their voice, whatever that means to them. And that could be with speaking, healing. I've worked with so many people in recovery who have, often gotten in trouble with substances and other things because they are dealing with trauma, hurt. They're often the most tenderhearted. That was my mother's theory about it. Our neighbor who
Mm.
was an alcoholic for his whole life, sometimes active, and then he was sober forever and ever. And then right before he died, he fell off the wagon for a while. But she just said, I think Don's just really a tenderhearted guy. And And so a lot of us find refuge in places that are not helpful. And I am interested in helping people find their way to more full expression, life, joy, and connection through this thing we use every day without thinking much about it usually.
Yeah, yeah. I really like to find your voice, and it really does. When you meet somebody, how they communicate and how they project and talk, well, you will immediately begin to make assumptions about them as and in a way in how they communicate. But then there's also like the find your voice too. That's like a harder thing to get your arms around about finding who you are, throat chakra kind of, finding yourself and your
Exactly.
voice that way too. Yeah.
And I'm
I
kind of
saw
a,
a little bit of your TED talk and I
oh yeah.
got that point of it was a 10-year-old thing. Uh
Um,
but right off it clipped me about when you went into impersonating a couple directions. I was like, yeah, that does make sense to me. And I'd really not thought about it.
Most people haven't. And that's why, I just finished my second book. I wrote two books now. And I'm training people to do my work and the TED Talk, and because it is so invisible and it's so essential. And that I think in the TED Talk, I talk about, I'm kind of a word geek and I like etymology, like where things come from. And I love that in the word voice, the Latin root of it, vocare, is also the Latin root for words like vocation, like your work in the world,
Mm,
your advocacy, when you use your voice on behalf of other people, provocation, when you stir things up with, "Rah, rah, rah, rah," and we've all met people like that. I've even been that person. And then invocation, my favorite, where you call the sacred into the world through the sound of your voice. So when you kind of pull on that little taproot of voice, you get your work, and then your relationships, your health. There's like that you can often tell what's going on. Well, I'm sure when I was the caregiver for my mom for many years too. We never lived together, and we laughed about how fortunate that was because we're both stubborn women. But I was her caregiver for about 15 years. And when I would call her up, I could tell by the low of hello if it was a hard day for her,
yeah.
you know? And
Yep. I know exactly. I can go down and talk to dad for a minute and I can tell what kind of day he's having according to the way his
yep,
countenance is, his voice.
yeah. Yeah. So we're broadcasting all the time. And a lot of times what we're broadcasting is not true. It might be a tiny little corner of what we have available. Most of us are living in a little closet in our voice, and we might have been driven there by a bunch of different things. And we have this whole mansion available. And so I just kind of want to fling open the doors and help people find more of their voice and more of who they are.
That is so cool. I fell into a podcast and I suppose it is on YouTube and the word you said, entomology. What did you, that word?
Etymology. Etymology.
Entomology.
Yes.
It's all about that. And they delve into the backgrounds and the underneath of where words come from. And I'm learning a ton listening to this couple share about, they'll pick a topic and run through it and talk about how like all those words you said all basically have VOC in them in some way or another, right?
True.
And how all that stuff comes around to where our English language is a lot deeper than what we think just by yapping.
It's true. Yeah.
So, how did you find yourself interested in this and doing this? What brought you to?
Mm. Well, it was my own wounds, of course. That's how most people find what they uh, find healing is through their own injury. I grew up in a singing family. My grandfather sang on the radio in Iowa. My mother was a singer. My big brother was
Oh.
actually in a band and made a record back when that was like a big deal. And I sang in good choirs, but I would never want to sing alone in front of anyone. It was like my worst fear.
Mm,
And that's not uncommon, but I think it's pretty uncommon growing up with the kind of support I had. And so my big question, of course, was what's wrong with me, which is like such an unkind question. And so someone overheard me singing late at night. I was sewing in the costume shop in college, and I thought it was 3 in the morning, nobody's around. I'm singing away along with radio. And my loudmouth friend heard me and gossiped to another friend who was a piano player, and that I had a voice, that I could sing. And part of me was like, no, and part of me was like, yay, both. And so I sang for him, and fortunately I knew him and trusted him. Otherwise I wouldn't have. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
Barbara, you have a lovely voice. Would you sing with my jazz trio at this historic hotel for the summer? And someone in my mouth said yes, even though I was thinking that sounds terrible. So I went through all this fear, and I discovered recently that in an old journal that I started singing in public like that and therapy like within 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And so my voice and my healing have been partners all the way along. Um, I was very terrified for a long, long time. And then I would go study with a voice teacher in my town, and I'd mostly cry because I'd start to open the voice, and all the things that suppressed it would come out.
Mm.
And then I'd write her a check. And then I'd come back a couple weeks later, I'd do it all over again. And then she said, you should go to this workshop with these people from France. They're coming to Minneapolis. And so I went terrified. And at the time, I had a very strong story about like what my voice was and therefore who I was. My voice ended here, which isn't that high for a girl. And in that first weekend with these teachers, I made sound. Can you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Almost to the top of the piano. And this changed my whole story. Like,
Mm.
I could not fit back inside the story I walked in there with. And I thought, wow, how else am I wrong about me? And that question has carried me through decades. That was in the late 80s when I met my teacher. And we subsequently, I kept studying with him and other teachers from his center in France and in Canada. And we became colleagues and friends and taught together for over 20 years. And he just stopped coming to teach a little over a year ago because he just turned 80.
Mm.
I don't know who I'd be without him. And that getting set free from performance and singing pretty into wild sound. I was not myself when I made sound up here. I was a bird. I was this huge raptor, and I was going to come flying out of the sky and tear a rabbit apart. And I could feel that, like that kind of energy moving through me. And that was, we also pretended to be other kinds of beings, creatures. And
Mm.
it helped me get out of my identity, my story, which is all of our stories, Dan, are too small for us. All of them,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so the character, the archetype helped sort of jostle that open. And I fell in love with the work. I was doing that over, in my personal life. And then I was also being a business consultant, an organizational consultant. I have no training for that either. And then eventually those worlds collided when my colleagues started saying, I have this client and she has this voice. It's just so irritating and she's brilliant, but it doesn't matter because you just want to run out of the room every time she's talking. So they started asking me to work with our clients. And then about 23 years ago, I stepped away from that organizational work to dedicate myself to this full time. So
Wow.
2 books later and a TED Talk, and now there's about 75 people around the world who are trained in my work.
That is super cool. Yeah.
It's very
They
cool.
say, one of the other that public speaking is a big fear for folks, but I would definitely put public singing above above that.
It
Went to a
is.
thing not long ago. I do yoga, and we had a Christmas holiday get together in the yoga studio, and they had karaoke in there, and I just cannot.
No.
There's just no way. You couldn't. Somebody said something like, "Are you going to sing?" Like, do you understand how hard it is just to come in here and practice yoga with all you gals, let alone going to get up in front of you and sing?
So if you,
But
let me
some
ask
people
you.
get so much out, you see some people though, they just like bloom
They
when
do.
that microphone is in their hand, man. And they're not professionals. They're not actually, a lot of times they're not even really, from my uninformed, they're not really even singing that good, but they're having a blast.
I love karaoke. I absolutely am so grateful because people used to sing together all the time. And I am a singer and songwriter. I write songs and sing and perform and do that too. But So often in all these years of teaching, people would be like, I just want to sing, with low stakes. And so I used to do little recitals, where everybody got a standing ovation no matter what. We could start over 4 times, it didn't matter, just to give them a chance to uh, sing. And one of my students years ago, she came in and I said, so tell me about like, if this went really well, our work, what would have happened? And she said, well, I go do karaoke and I wouldn't throw up and fall down. And she did it. She actually did go do karaoke and did. She actually enjoyed herself. But I'm grateful because it's a way for people to sing without performance, perfection, and all that stuff. And yeah, so it's
Yeah.
a good thing.
There's a gal in my club that does that orchestrated. I don't know what you call when you MC a karaoke, but she must have the gear and I see her posts on Facebook and stuff and she sets up here and she sets up there and she's always taking her karaoke gear around. I would imagine, because I certainly do, probably everybody sings in the car when they're by themselves, and probably everybody sings in the shower at some point or another. When you're alone, I will do that, no doubt. But
Do you have a favorite go-to song that's like if you were gonna do karaoke, that would be your song?
shoot, I don't probably I would draw a blank on it right now.
That's all right.
But there are some.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Without the car and without the shower and babies, those babies at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I've probably done that too.
you gotta do something to get that kid to sleep. So
Yeah,
I
it's
did have
interesting.
a, yeah, go ahead.
We It's just never been like a part like and I know people who've like had the music around them. My kids' mom's family all had musical interests and stuff, and they would sing and they would play guitars and play piano and do things like that. But like music has never been something that's been really in my, around me. It's, we talk a lot, and you talked about the trauma and the stuff that happens to you and all that. And, the older I get, the more I realize how deeply trained we are by our environments. And with that being not part of my upbringing at all,
Mhm.
I kind of feel detached from it, where then I see other families and you find out, everybody in the family plays something and sings. Uh,
Yeah.
just a difference in environment that you grew up in.
Yeah, and I think it's especially true for men, especially white men in America. It's like it's not really part, especially in people around our generation. I think younger folks have a little more space, but boy, like how it is to be, I remember where I was when I really got that in my body. I know all the traumas and dramas that hit women because I've lived as one of those my whole life. But I was with a group of architects and they wanted to become more holistic leaders of their firm, to really welcome the whole person. And their founder was a retired Marine. And I was like, he was a great leader. And so I was talking to them, and all of a sudden I thought, oh my gosh, I have to talk to these guys about homophobia. Oh, because I knew that all the things I was inviting them into, like being more expressive and more warm and more open, those are all things you're never supposed to. Is like to be a good man in this culture, you're supposed to be dead and a machine and never feel anything and not move, and certainly don't wear color, and certainly don't move your hands when you talk, or you're gay and can be killed. And I was like, oh God, I have to say this in front of the Marine. And I did. And my heart was going boom, 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 boom the whole time. And at the time, they all had their eyes closed. And I said, I need you to make a commitment never to tease each other or another man. Most of the people in their firm were men, about being too soft and and they were all nodding. I said, do you know what I'm talking about? And they're like, mm-hmm, because teasing is so vicious in a lot of cultures, male cultures. So,
Yeah.
and then the guy, the Marine, the boss was helping me out to the car. He's like, you should take this work to Quantico and do Marine training. It's so great. And I haven't done that yet, but I'm open.
Yeah. Yep.
But
Yeah.
so
Just
it's
even
just,
you saying that, I can just immediately flash through half a dozen episodes growing up where it was vicious,
yeah,
or use accused of something that wasn't true about you. And next thing you know, that's the rumor. And just thing after thing after thing that probably helped me get to where I needed recovery at one point in my life.
Mhm.
And I processed a whole bunch of that, but you know, it still bubbles up.
It does.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I was a bullied kid in junior high, and boy, that stays in the body. Stays in the
yep,
body.
yep, yeah. You know, I thought I was I thought I was coming to recovery just to stop doing dope and drinking, you know, and then ended up being that I've learned in the past, 14 years or so, I've learned so much more than what I ever bargained for. And it's a funny thing because I see that now when I see new guys come in, and that's really their only concern. But I can see that there's a lot more deeper than that going on. You know, that's just the surface protective layer.
Right,
Uh,
that can get taken off so then you can get down to business. You know, I
yeah.
live right across, I mean, tomorrow when I go to my meeting at a coffee shop, I will drive right by Hazelden.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends have come to this area for recovery and just stayed.
Yep.
You know, so there's this kind of, it's just been a part of our life here in the valley because a lot of people have come here to heal.
Yeah, it's like a heartbeat of recovery in the country, really. You hear that a lot. My uh, most recent sponsor, that's back in the 80s, that's where he went.
Yep.
That's where his family sent him off to.
Yeah.
It was you can go there or you can leave. Take
Yeah.
your choice.
Yeah.
You're going to do one of the two,
Door
and
number
we'll
one or door number two. And it's
yeah.
funny because one of my friends here in the valley, I garden with some people here, and this lovely man that I talk to this couple all the time, and she decided she needed help, and she and her husband thought she'd just be going, 20 minutes across the river to Hazelden, and she ended up just because of who she was and where things were going, she ended up in California, but just ran into her at Christmas time, and um, we had a good hug and a long cry because I
Uh,
don't know her that well, but just the sweetest woman. And she said, I got a new life. She's got a real thick Wisconsin accent. I got a new life. So it's
yeah.
beautiful.
Yep. It really is amazing to watch people take that coat off, and watch what's because I had no idea who I was, and I got sober at 45 years old, I mean, I was a grown man, but
Yeah,
I really felt like in a matter of moments, and it felt like moments, this thing about this feels like I got sober just a minute ago, but also a million years ago at the same time. It's a weird dynamic, but it felt like I flashed from like 12 years old to 45 in like a matter of a couple months.
yeah,
I felt like I went from being still a little kid.
yep,
And ultimately, that's really what was inside there until I could do some healing work and get the booze and the dope off of me, and then do some of the other work that 12 steps calls for, where you can start digging out of that and finding out who you are. I'd have never spoke in front of people. I mean, it's just even like having this podcast that goes out. It's not like in the realm of my, and standing in front of a group of 100 people talking
yeah,
telling you some of the worst things that you could ever say about yourself, and telling your story, and then being clapped for it,
yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
do you did you just hear that story I told you? But it's interesting, and it's kind of like a way that I guess in a sense find my voice
yeah.
in a different way, just not necessarily through singing.
Yeah, but speaking is the same thing. I work with a lot of people in speaking. And I like to take it beyond speaking, beyond singing into sound, because that's where the real liberation is. That's where I don't know, that's where the parts of us that get the shadow. Part of what I organize my work around the five elements of earth, fire, water, metal, and air. And each of the five correlate obviously with different sounds. But then I also use characters or archetypes to help us step into those, like that bird
Mm.
helped me make those wild sounds because the identity is so tight. It's like I'm this way, I'm that way, I'm a shy person, I'm a guy, I'm southern, I'm northern, I'm whatever, whatever, I'm in recovery. It's like, yeah, that's all true, but what else you got? And so the I think the shadow, finding a wholesome and playful way to express your shadow, I think really helps with healing. And so we all have it, and it's going to get us one way or the other. So why would we not, you know, find a way to express it that doesn't blow up our lives?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yep. You need, I'm a fan of that too. The shadow work and the Jungian stuff. And, uh, I don't think I've ever, you said something about the bird, that's another common thing that I see, that everybody loves to see that majestic bird of prey in the air. The eyes will go up and they'll point, and I can hear the hawks, wherever I'm at. I'm kind of outdoorsy dude.
Mhm.
Was Grew up hunting and fishing, and still spend a lot of time there. Yesterday it was just been so cold, and of course it's not as cold, I'm talking cold down here, but it has been cold, and you don't get out. And I yearn for outside, but I don't. And then so I bundled up yesterday and went for a great big old hike, just to get out. And there was something that's like, I sit here and I was like, I need that right now.
That's
Whatever else is going on, I need that right now. And I just went by myself, and maybe overdid it. Uh,
good for you.
my legs are a little sore today.
Yeah,
Uh,
I live in a place that is like it's a river valley, so there's like lots of ups and downs. And when I
that's
first
here
moved
too.
here, I was like, oh boy, these are steep hills, and now I'm great. I go up and down and up and down, and except now we had a lot of rain, and so it's icy out there, and
Oh
that
yeah.
I can do cold. I have so much gear. It was 10 below when I got up this morning,
Woo.
and then there was wind, and so
Yeah, it
but I
was
could have.
windy here
I
too.
have enough gear, but there's been ice, and then there's a little dusting of snow overnight, so you can't see
Mm,
where. Anyway, so
where the ice is,
I've
yeah.
been I've been pining. I just was visiting a friend in Utah, and I got to hike around some dry roads there in the
Yeah,
mountains.
I was actually glad the trails were frozen instead of muddy.
Yeah,
But we didn't have any snow or any ice of any amount to talk about. But yeah, that so tell me a little bit more. You said you might sing, or I am interested in like these archetypes and the work that you do with people.
okay.
And then also how people can also, I'm sure there's, and I did peek in on your website a little bit. You offer this help to people.
I do. I do. I have courses starting regularly online, just like I call it full voice fundamentals, a fun capitalized. And I do those from time to time as kind of a way for people to step in. I'll also be doing
I
I'm
think one
developing.
starts Wednesday.
Yeah, one starts Wednesday, and then I have another one starting in March. But I run those pretty regularly. I also work one-on-one with people if they would like that. Um,
Is
and
it Zoom type of thing? Is
oh
it?
yeah, yeah. I have had people. I have done in-person intensives. I started doing that before COVID, and then I just have had a couple. They come to my little valley here, and I put them up. I tell them where they can stay in my neighborhood, and then we go in. We go in deep. They do some pre-work, and then we go in over a couple of days, and it's yeah, and then there's follow-up. But most people, it's either one-on-one or the initial class. And I'll be creating a self-directed one because I know, scheduling. Oh, it's the hardest thing for many people, especially. I mean, the woman I talked to in Thailand this morning, it was 9 o'clock at night for her and
Yeah.
8 o'clock in the morning for me. So my classes are never at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I'll be doing some self-directed ones too.
Yeah, it's one thing I've learned about scheduling these podcasts, because a lot of times I have no idea when I get the inquiry where you're at.
Right.
And I did one, and I think it was the gal in India, and I asked her, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning for her, and I was like, "Oh, we could have done better. We didn't have to do this. I could get up a little earlier in the morning to try to crank her back into normal waking hours or something." But so now I learned that lesson, and I asked that question right out of the gates to make sure we're both in some kind of normal operating hours.
Yeah, there was a woman who was in one of my group classes who was in Africa. I think she was in Kenya, And would get up, she'd set her alarm and get up and go out in the middle of the village outside because, I would have people making sounds and she could make them quietly out there, but she couldn't be in her house and wake up her family. Um, so yeah, it's fascinating what people will do. So the
Yeah.
self-directed thing will help. So, um,
And sometimes it's just scary, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
Sometimes you're just not ready to really do that with somebody yet. It matters where you're at and who you are, you know. Sometimes that's the better course of action for you to get your feet wet or whatever your next steps are.
and the thing about Zoom in these groups is that everyone's on mute.
Mm.
I'm, sitting here having lasagna, playing and carrying on. And they can all be on mute, which is really fun because they'll look up and I'll see like 9 people all going, waving their
That
arms
is
around. But it makes for a little more safety.
sure, yeah.
For
That
people,
actually
and
feels better to me.
yeah, and then
Just here.
they can come off mute. Sometimes I invite, when we're going deep into each of the 5 elements, I'll say, anybody want to show off? And then somebody will, and then we all admire them and, think it's great. So I've been doing it for so long and I never weary of it. I'm always discovering more about the gifts of the voice and and how willing they are to help us heal. Even the
Yeah.
ones that have been the most suppressed. I've worked with people who've been horribly abused and so that had like mutism, selective mutism. And there was one woman who opened up her voice at one point. She's one of the most courageous people I've ever worked with. And at one point, she just opened up what I call her fire voice. This big, and she threw back her head. And this was in person. And I thought that sound was never going to end. It went on and on and on and on. And then finally ran out of breath. And then she just looked at me and I looked at her and we both went, "Bah!" and just burst into tears and started laughing. And that voice was in there that whole time. It waited for her faithfully. So
Yeah,
beautiful.
I was in a men's group thing some years ago, and we were doing a lot of warrior work,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and
Yeah,
and
warrior.
and
Yeah.
I'm all about balance and finding where I'm at there and where I'm at and other. I like, that was who did that work, the lover and the musician and the king
Yes.
and the um and I've had the opportunity to. I have a place out in the country. We've got like 54 acres out in the country in a log cabin my dad and my brother and I built from scratch.
Wow.
And it's a really cool place. That's where I do my fifth steps, where you do that confidential exchange of information. Uh, and I also had the opportunity to do men's retreats out there and get 25, 30 men out there in recovery. And I always try. I really just let it happen. The universe will guide me. In the beginning when I first started doing it, it was a lot of imposter syndrome, and which what am I doing? I do it. I'm not. I'm not. Uh, well, I can't even come up with the word. Ready to do this. But later on, I started getting it. And one, we did like a warrior thing, and we yelled and hollered and made noise all weekend. And when you're out in the middle of the woods, nobody can hear us. You don't have to worry about, any goofiness, like if you're in a park or something, but you hear a bunch of dudes over yelling or whatever.
Yeah.
And at the end of the weekend, we were all sore throated, had lost our voices
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
hollering and yelling and Tarzan yells and just being loud out in the woods. And it was fun. And then you could see everybody was like, there's that beginning. And
Mm-hmm.
it usually happens no matter what my
Mm-hmm.
theme is. There's always that beginning, like, oh man, what is he bringing to this time? Because I don't let the cat out of the bag at all. And we start yelling, and you can see people like they're not necessarily going to join
Yeah, they're
in at
looking for
first.
more limbs to cross, It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
give me that.
exactly.
Give me
Yeah, but
that.
then after a little while, man, there they are standing there on their tiptoes, howling at the moon in the night, and that just letting your voice out just like that freely
Yeah.
and making noise
Yeah.
with your mouth, with your voice was
Yeah, and
cool. It was
a
really
big
cool.
part of what else the other stuff that I do, I've always known that like I was setting all the individual voices free, but I also knew that we needed to have a voice together collectively. And so I've been a community song leader for decades, getting people together, singing in the oral tradition. I have a TED talk about that too. Just like a line at a time. Here, sing this. La la da 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 da. No paper, no performance, no choirs, no auditions, And I built this whole community in the Twin Cities over decades, uh, to the point where there would be like 50 or 60 people in a big circle. And I would get them all singing, and there was always new people, and there was always repeats. And what's really gratifying to me this week, is that a lot of the people that I mentored are now leading singing in Minneapolis. I
Oh,
just saw
cool.
videos. They've been going, these videos of my friends have been flying all over the internet. They're standing in the back of a truck singing, and the first time they did it, there were 300 people walking through the neighborhood singing to the people who were afraid to leave their houses
Mm.
because of ice. And then the next time they went out, different leaders standing in the back of the truck, both of whom I know well, 600 people were
Wow.
walking. And then the people are peeking out their windows and waving because
Mhm.
they're locked in their houses. And I just kind of thought I had no idea. Most of us don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
You didn't know when you're building this cabin, you don't know that you're going to have all these men come out there and like find their wild
Well,
man and heal. And I didn't know when I was leading these little groups and I was losing money and it was frustrating and I just kept going. And now well, it's actually a movement all over. I know of the US and Canada, there are lots of these kinds of singing events happening all the time, just gathering people to sing. I do it where I live now. Just
yeah.
gather people, we sing and we gather up money and then give it to a local group that brings fresh food from our farmers to indigenous elders in the area.
Oh, very
So we
cool.
sing and we feed our neighbors. What could be better? So I've
Yeah.
always had this like, find your voice, but then let's open our collective voice because it helps us remember that we're connected.
Well, there's so much. I mean, it's a easy word to say, but it is so huge. Just that community kind of thing of being a part of, just about every single alcoholic and addict that I've ever spoke to has always says something about not feeling, they feel alone in a group of people and they never did feel a part of. I mean, it's like almost like cookie cutter stuff every time,
Yeah,
not
and we all
feeling
think we're so
comfortable.
unique and
Yeah.
special, and we are,
Yeah.
but that's not the reason why. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
the
that's
loneliness.
a weird dynamic too, because we are so all so unique. I mean, even from our fingerprints and the sound of our voice and all that, but yet then again, we're all cookie cutters of
Well,
one another at some level. It's a weird thing.
the stuff that bugs us, that plagues us, is not that unique.
No,
It's
no,
shame. It's generational for so many of us too. I just feel like, oh my
what
gosh,
they say,
we're
nothing new under the sun type of stuff.
yeah, we're at the front edge of a
Yeah.
whole bunch of
And
nonsense.
then
Yeah,
where
how do
then
we
that
get rid of
community
it?
thing, and then also when you were talking about the Zoom thing and the people that encouragement too with one another, there's so little of that going on, and it seems anyway. I mean, I felt it myself until I joined the community I'm in now, and then I did that encouragement from one another to cheer you on is worth gold. It just
It's,
is. Even just in the evening, you know that everybody gets off that Zoom meeting and everybody's high, right?
yes, yes,
Naturally,
yes,
with the
yes.
good stuff,
Yeah,
and
yeah, and yeah, I lead these weekend retreats now with my nephew, who is my soulmate. He lives in Atlanta, and we are super close. And he's 20 some years younger than me, so we're kind of, anyway, he's the best, and he's trained in my work. So now we are teaching. We're going to be doing. We did one in the fall, and we're going to be doing another, group of 15 maybe people in person over a weekend, and we're going to take before and after pictures, because the pictures that we always take a picture at the end, and people like if you could see auras, they would be blinding. Just we sing together, we make sound together, we do little skits, we explore the edges of our voices and our psyches. We laugh a lot, we cry a lot, and boy, you get to just kind of see like, oh, here is a shiny human being right now.
yep. I'll say you can see people bloom like a flower.
Exactly.
I like to have this mental image of like the time elapse of a flower coming out of the ground. There you go.
Here's an amaryllis for you. Yeah,
The flower
exactly.
coming out of the ground, and it's just a wadded up little green stub, and but it pops up and boom, here's this beautiful thing. And I take it, and I've done it a couple times, like you said, that fifth step. I've had the opportunity to do quite a few of them, and I always take the little town by the cabin is called Fargo.
Oh, are you kidding?
Fargo, Indiana. And
Oh,
there's a little green
oh, for
sign
God's sakes. Yeah.
that says Fargo, and it's it's just a cross in a couple of gravel roads now is all it is. But I always stop there on the way out and stand in front of the sign, so I've got 30 something pictures of me and somebody else standing there. But you see that, and there we got a group chat that we post all of our stuff on. I said we help each other when we're bruised, and we celebrate each other when we're winning, and to put that picture on there and you can see it. But there was a couple times that I thought, let's take a picture on the way in.
Yeah.
And we stop out there and take that picture. And then you look at those two pictures of one day and the next, because we spend the night, and the difference in between, you could just see it like a light in the eyes and the smile and everything, like it almost looks like two different people.
It does. Yeah. Yeah. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
And I see it in myself. I am by nature a joyful person. I've come to discover after digging through a lot of stuff. And there are so many times when it's like, it's been heavy. And one of the other ways I do the community singing is I have a little choir, volunteer comfort choir. We sing for people who are dying, sad, sick, grieving, um, whatever you call us. A group of like five sweet lunatics will show up at your door and sing songs for you. And everybody thinks we're from a religion. And it's similar to the 12 steps. It's like, no, no, no. We go deep enough that we have people who are Lutherans and Jews and Buddhists and agnostics and Unitarians. It doesn't matter. But we bring these songs of and presence and love of saying, we're here. We're
Yeah.
here. And that group has been going to for 18 years.
Wow.
And we save each other's lives all the time. I think it's similar to a 12-step group or a support group.
Sure.
Only we just sing. We do talk a little bit. Mostly we just sing,
Yeah.
and we're of service, and it's just I think it's some of the best work I do. And now I'm an hour away, and they just go sing at the hospital, and if I'm there, I'm there. If I'm not, I'm not. I've created a group of strong people, so my role is I'm still the founder, I'm the musical and spiritual director, but they're good without me.
Yeah.
But
Yep. And that's another point, and that's something I've seen, I have that one frame of reference deeply, from 12 step recovery and that, but that deal where, it doesn't really matter what your belief system is, within a certain window, right? You can't think
right,
it's good to
right.
hurt people.
Yeah.
But most people don't think that. And everybody can get along, and we don't argue about who believes what. It's really hardly, sometimes there'll be some discussion, but it always stays cool and it never does get goofy, but you look around, and that's another thing that you see out there is that seems to be what most people are arguing about, and we don't have to. We can show them that don't have to happen amongst a vast different group of folks that have believed different things.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the gifts of singing is like you don't have to talk. I love
Yeah.
talking. This is a great conversation. Thank you. And I just feel like the things that can happen between a group of people, among a group of people, beyond, yoga is another example, chanting, silence.
Hmm.
I have friends who are Quakers and they just sit in silence, which is delicious. Um, and
I
then
did a sound bath not
the
long a couple
sound
weeks
bath
ago,
thing. Yeah.
laying in a yoga studio doing nothing for 2 hours while somebody played music and big singing bowls, and
Yeah,
it
far
was
out.
great.
Yeah. And I'm a cold water plunger. I love the cold
Oh, do
water.
you?
I can't get in now because the river's frozen, but there are people in Minneapolis that keep some holes in the lakes open, and there were people out there when it was 6 degrees with wind chill yesterday. But I love that. I love the ritual of the hiking. I'm a long distance swimmer, and I love the cold plunge. There's this way that I'm alive, and I just feel like that's a lot with adulthood and sober adulthood, whatever that means. I'm not technically in recovery from chemicals or other things, but
Yeah, but we're all in
we're all in
recovery.
recovery. We're either in recovery or we have our heads up
Oh,
our butts in some way,
you're right. Yeah.
or both. But the more I live, the more I understand how we as humans do need altered states. And our ancestors had ways to go about that that were wholesome and collective, like nature, like dance, like song, like ritual, like silence, drumming. All these things are elevating.
Yep.
Sports, marathons, extreme things,
Yep.
and that's just in our nature. And when we get hurt badly, and then we don't like, you're looking at the menu, and it's like there's nothing, in the dominant culture that says this is how you can work with your shadow. This is how you can alter your state in a wholesome way.
Yeah.
Um,
There's
so,
so many people that walk around, and then like one of these funny things about people coming in, they've got nothing to do. They're bored. They're like, do you realize what's out in the world?
right.
How much there actually is to do. And our 12-step group does a lot of stuff. One of the things that we do is and I've been a couple times. I don't go every year, but they go out to Colorado and they hike up to the top of this mountain, and a few of them elk hunt.
Yep.
But I just would go along. And what, I help them haul that meat back down off a mountain, but that exertion and that like completion of a hard thing together,
Yep.
creates that around you. And the same kind of thing with you. I'm sure it's the same kind of dynamic. And when you're out singing, doing the same thing, there's like a laser pointer that all kind of brings everybody in a focal point together in a common good,
Yeah.
whatever that is. And there's just so much power in that. You, like you said, it makes you cry, makes you feel so good. There's no better high in the world than when you're doing those kinds of things with other people like that. Especially, we've always got somebody along that's like we love the newcomer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure you do too, right? That's
Yep.
probably,
Yeah. Like, what the hell am I doing here?
yeah. And then,
Like,
and
that
that's where
little,
you really get to watch somebody bloom. You get to watch that. If they will stick with it, you will see that change in their whole countenance, and to be a part of that. I know that I'm just like a tool in the master hand kind of thing. Get to help orchestrate some of it and help guide some things. But there's just really in that service end of things, and there's not another drug alive that beats it. And I've
no,
done them all.
I believe you. I'm grateful that they didn't appeal to me that much. I just there, but for the grace of God, right? There's people in recovery in my family, and I just dodged that particular.
Yep.
I found other ways to screw myself up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't fall in. I know a lot of people that's had just really just horrible
Mm,
upbringing. I mean, horrible, horrible.
mm,
And that's not my story, thankfully. My mom and dad, if my mom would have lived one more year, they'd have been married 50 years.
wow,
And I hit the jackpot in both departments,
that's wonderful.
but it didn't matter,
No,
from that angle. I still
no,
fell into that side of things. And frankly, I had a whole lot of fun for a while.
yeah,
It was a lot of fun
yeah,
until
until
it
it
wasn't
wasn't.
anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true for a lot of us. It's like
Yep.
this is great. Oh, a cliff, huh?
Yep. And I'm sailing off the edge of it.
Yeah, yeah. Mm,
There's been a couple times, and I've done quite a few of these. This way this podcast started was we had our little 12-step group thought we had something worth sharing, and podcasts were getting popular 12 or so years ago. They weren't what they are today, and we thought we would start a podcast. And we all met up at a coffee shop. There was actually 12 of us that met there that morning. We just said, if anybody's interested in being a part of this, be it Heine Brothers Coffee on the corner of such and such, 9 o'clock Sunday morning. And there was 12 of us that showed up. And we recorded like 3 episodes as a group, kind of round table thing with 5 or 6 guys at a time. And real quick, and I'll quote my friend, pardon my French a little bit, but he said he was trying to get his law practice back together after crashing and burning. And he said, and he was one kind of running the tech end.
yeah.
And he said, I don't have time for this shit. And
Yeah.
and mostly nobody else did either. Like you said, scheduling and this and that. But I had something in my heart that wanted to keep it going, and I tapped one of my new sponsees on the shoulder and said, "Why don't you come over to my house and we'll record you telling your story?"
Yeah.
And they did that, and I did another one, and then it started rolling. And then where I was going with this is I've had a number of musicians come,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you, and there's something Something that touches me now. I can go to a concert and have a good time, and I can go to the orchestra or to band or go listen to a jazz group or something like that. But when one person sits in the room with me and plays and sings, there is something else that happens to
Yes.
me.
Yeah.
I get those Kundalini tingles, like that ASMR kind of tingles. I had a young, real young, like 20-year-old young pothead,
Oh,
and he
yeah.
come ask me to take him through the work, and he come over and there's a piano in my living room, and from my daughter was playing when she was young for a little while, but it's still sitting here because mostly because it's too heavy to move and nobody wants
Yeah.
it. And and he said, "Can I play that piano?"
Mm.
Like, yeah, we were done with our little session, and he sat down and did that. And I sat on the couch. He could still be down there playing, and I'd be sitting on the couch. And that's been a few years ago because I wasn't moving. I was glued, and I just get like, uh, just something happens to me when I've had those opportunities, and I just lean into it. I'm purring like a kitten. Uh,
Yeah,
when I
it's
have like somebody playing and playing and or singing, and it's just I'm the audience.
yeah.
I've felt that, and I've had opportunities to experience it. Had a gal who was we use all these terms and we try to figure out what we are, right? She's a shaman,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and she had a drum with her, and she didn't really sing words,
Hmm.
but she sang
Yeah.
and played her drum.
Hmm.
And I mean, like even just thinking back about it right now brings it back. It's just something I don't know, I've been fortunate to have a number of opportunities to be a part of, and I would hire somebody to come do it like a masseuse or something almost, just have
That's
somebody
a
come
great
play
idea.
for me.
Well, I have friends near Louisville, so I'll look you up. Come and play that piano. Because it is, there's something, when I'm writing a song, a lot of times I'll get it to a certain point, and then I won't know if it's done yet. And so I'll have a friend or a neighbor or something. It's like, hey, can you listen to this? And then I play it and sing it, and then I can tell. It's like, but I can't tell by myself,
Yeah.
and they may or may not say anything about, sometimes they say, don't tell me. I don't want any feedback right now. I just need to hear it in the presence of someone else.
Yeah, and yeah, just that other
It's like an
human being's
echo.
energy there with
Yeah,
you to
yeah.
double up. It's the
It's
same
like a
thing when there's six
boomerang.
of you singing, that's more powerful than one sometimes. And that can come in a lot of different flavors when you get together like that on that. So I could totally understand how just having that other person over there would be helpful, can be helpful. They had to have, and I know that's the other thing. Uh, I have certain friends that are good for certain energies,
Yes,
and
yes.
they're not so good for other energies.
Yep,
And I'm sure I'm the same way.
yep.
I'm good for some and not for others.
Yeah, we have different resonance with people. I have a friend, my friend Cher, we laugh like hyenas when we're together. There's this kind of metal in my voice thing, this kind of witchy laugh. I don't laugh like that with anyone else, but we find each other hilarious. And also, she's brilliant, and we have a lot of places, but I just noticed the song we sing is we laugh like witches together. So fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so
So can
you
I
was,
can I sing you a song?
I would love that.
Yeah. Okay. So I will see how I'll start it a little bit, and we'll see. I don't know. Sometimes you need to change the settings on Zoom to make
Okay.
it sound okay, but we'll just do our best.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
We're
I
not
don't
doing that
know.
right now. That's just going to be hard work, and why would we do that? So it may or may not be perfect, but it's also out there on the interwebs. So if people want to hear it, they can. So this is a song of healing that I wrote for my beloved nephew I was talking about. He was going through a very hard time, really dark moment in his life, and he's far away, and I was desperate, and I found this. I've had this quote in my office for years by the great Sufi mystic Hafiz. I wish that I could show you, whenever you are lonely or walking in the dark, the astonishing light of your being.
Mm,
So I wrote a little song that it was my prayer. I just sang it, and would just send it, down to Georgia. And then a few years later, it grew verses. So I think I'll do, I'll do it. I'll do the whole thing.
okay.
I could show you. I wish that I could show you whenever you are lonely or walking in the dark. I wish that I could show you. I wish that I could show you the astonishing light of your being. This night's not gonna last forever. You won't always feel this way. But while you're feeling lost, I'll stay beside you. I won't say much, just hold your hand and listen to you breathe. And pray that your own light will come to find you. I wish that I could show you. I wish that I could show you whenever you are lonely or walking in the dark. I wish that I could show you. I wish that I could show you the astonishing light of your being. The astonishing light of your being. The astonishing light of your being.
It works over the interwebs too.
Good, 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 good. Yeah, I just did one verse. I thought two choruses and a verse. But if people are, if you're in, I'm going to send you the whole song, Dan.
Okay.
And if people are interested in finding that, like finding me, they can, if you put it in the show notes somewhere, I'll send the song as a gift, the whole thing. Because it does
Okay.
feel so much like a recovery song.
It does.
You know,
Yeah.
the pain makes you, the second verse, the pain makes you forgetful, and you no longer see the wonder of your being and how much you mean to me. But I'll remember everything till you find your way back home. Until then, I'll keep whispering in your ear.
Yeah. That's
And the
beautiful.
third verse is, tomorrow it may be my turn to wander in the dark, for all of us are bound to lose our way. You'll come along beside me then the way that good friends do, and here are the words I heard you say. I wish that I could show you. So,
That is so cool. That's
yeah,
so,
that song
yeah.
has traveled very far in this, and it's been out there. I don't have kids, but I have songs, and they go out and do things. And that one's been out doing things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get to playing the piano? Did you, how did that happen?
I took lessons. My mother was quite a good piano player and was a piano teacher before I was born, but so she picked good ones. So I played from 5 to 18 lessons, classical, da, 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 you know, all that stuff. And so I have these great neural pathways in my brains and hands, and then I stopped from 18 until 30. I really started writing
Wow.
music when I was 31.
Mm.
I was present with my father when he died at 67. And I think that was it was a huge initiation for many reasons. But mostly, I think he just took a bunch of fear with him. You know,
Mm.
part of it was a strong experience, but it wasn't scary to be with him when he died. It was,
Yep.
and I was like, oh, I kind of know how to do this. And anyway, after he died, something opened. That whole process of walking him home opened something. And then I started writing songs and I thought, I have to catch them in something. And just at this time, I have been so well cared for. Just at the time I started writing, my upstairs neighbor said, my grandpa's moving into assisted living and he's got a piano and I don't have room in my apartment. Can I put it in your apartment and come and play it sometimes? I was like, yeah. And so I started playing again in a different way. I bought a chord dictionary and a jazz fake book. And so I just learned, you know, these patterns,
Yeah.
figure out the chord. And then I learned to play more by ear and by chord. I think I had a friend who's since died, but he would teach me to play my own songs better. Like he taught
Mm.
me how to, you know, play a tango, and he taught me how to voice things in a different way. Um, and so, yeah, I kind of took it back and I wish I'd known how pleasurable it is to play when you're not trying to read every note. It's more just
Just to
like,
play.
yeah, just playing and
Yeah.
listening, and there's these patterns that are repeating in so many songs. So
Yeah.
in my first couple albums, I've made 9 recordings now. The first couple I hired piano players. Um, and once in a while I'll hire people who are better than I am, for certain songs, but
Sure.
now I play for myself.
Yeah. It's always something, that I've always wished I had done was learn to play something.
I
I
know.
suppose it's never too late.
Well,
Uh,
it's harder when your brain's
yeah.
take
Yeah. Because that's it, like language, you start teaching a child another language and they can pick up tons of stuff. And while all that stuff is forming, but then
yeah,
later on, it kind of sets up and it becomes a little tougher to get the new
yeah.
stuff in there. Music is definitely its own thing. You
Mhm.
know, there's nothing really like that to
No.
be able to do that. I envy my friends that can just pick up a guitar and play it. I have a cousin who is like a guitar. I've watched him since I was a little kid. Now
Yeah.
he's my exception of not having music around me, but a
Yeah.
really close cousin. I have 4 male cousins. My dad's brothers and sisters all decided to have kids within about a year of one another.
Oh,
So I
wow.
was lucky to have like 4 male cousins my age and a couple more just a year or two, one way or the other. My younger brother's 30 months younger than me. So we had this whole batch of dudes.
Yeah.
And Matt played a guitar and he still does. Matter of fact, he played Saturday night at one of the places over in Louisville. He still got a band together and they play blues kind of stuff, the Led Zeppelin
Yeah.
and a lot of that old southern blues stuff. I
Yeah.
can't think
That's
of Muddy
great.
Waters and Howlin' Wolf
Oh,
and it's just wild to watch. I remember that's kind of and that brings it back, watching him play when I was a little kid. I don't think I could actually process it the way I can today and feel that feeling that I feel. But I was entranced to sit
yeah.
there and watch him practice.
Yeah. It's something. Well, and guitars, I don't understand them. I played for about 10 minutes when I was 12. And then I ran into a bar chord and I was like, nah, I don't think so. Because it just, this keyboard has been such a part of my body and my
Yeah.
brain. Um, yeah, my nephew plays, well, he sings like an angel, but he plays guitar, he plays bass, he played saxophone for a while. He's one of those, and his sister too. My niece and nephew on that side of the family are both that whole family is super
Yeah.
musical. So we,
I've just
work
forgotten about
together.
something. My cousin made me
Yeah,
play the bass for the Kiss. They would have Kiss concerts in his little family room, and because that was so easy, that it was just a boom, 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 boom. They just say, just do that, And I had forgotten about that
well, there you
as a little
go.
kid. One of them was a drummer, and kids would come over and they would have popcorn and cokes and have a Kiss concert.
That's such a good memory.
Yeah, it's funny how that gets away from you at times, and something will
Yeah,
pluck it back out of
fuck
the
it.
memory bank someplace. And I have a phenomenal number of people I know, and it's kind of funny. And I don't. It's like all these drunken alcoholic dudes I know. A big chunk of them play the guitar at some level or another, And like we come out there to that retreat, and a guy gets a guitar out of his car, and starts playing it at the bonfire,
Yeah,
and you're like.
yeah,
It almost doesn't compute for a minute because like you watched him walk in the door just a mess,
yeah,
and probably didn't own a guitar, probably had to pawn it at some point to
yeah.
and now he's getting his life back and he's sitting here at the fire singing and playing.
Beautiful.
It's I mess around with the harmonica a little bit. That's what
Oh, that's a good one. That's
and
a good
I've watched in something I sign up for stuff and I signed up for some forest management classes. I own some forest
Yeah,
and
cool.
so I just want to like keep on learning, keep on engaging in the world, and doing stuff. And I saw harmonica lessons here in town, and they're on the same night as my forest management class is. So I'm gonna have to wait till March or something and look again because this is going to take up my Monday nights for about 6 weeks. But I was this close. I was
Well, you're not dead. You're not dead yet, Dan.
No, I'm not dead yet. No.
That's
But
great.
I think I just might do that.
I think
I'll
the
play around
harmonica
on
would
it.
be good. It would be good. I mean, you got
It's
the
easy.
look.
It fits in
Yeah,
your pocket,
it's
and
yeah. I mean, a keyboard. I thought I got away with it, being a singer and a keyboardist. But then I have this huge thing that looks like a dead body in my basement. My electric keyboard that has
yeah.
to have the weighted keys because they don't. Anyway, so I most of the places I go already have a piano that I can use. But I'll be doing a concert downtown in my little town, and I'll have to haul that thing up my basement stairs. And
It's
I've
amazing how many pianos are around when you. So I worked for a place for 28 years between 1991 and 2019, and they laid me off. It
whoa,
was my heart wasn't in it anymore, and I know there were some things with it. Had no idea what I was going to do. How much, like you said earlier, life, a lot of life felt like an accident. And just kind of jump in the stream of life and flow. And I'm real handy. I grew up with my dad. He can fix anything, and frankly, nowadays I can too. And I really didn't even acknowledge that I had this skill set, this ability to do this. And in that 28 years, I played an engineer. Didn't go to school, but I started their drafting, and within 5 years, they put engineer on my business card, and that's what I was doing. And so then I got to go in all these people's houses handymaning, and it was really great. For 6 years, between the past 6 years, I've gotten to meet so many people around town and go. It's service in a sense. I go over there and talk to them and meet some people, fix their stuff. They're happy as can be because their stuff is fixed, and sometimes it's like a big honeydew list. It's a
wow,
day's worth of work. It's a kitchen cabinet. It's a stuck bathroom door, or the bathroom door won't latch, or just the various all kinds of things that go wrong in a house. And I know how to do all that. But it's like I think about how many pianos I saw
yeah,
in people's houses over that time. I was just at my aunt's. She's got a little baby grand up in her condo, and I don't think I've ever seen Mary Elizabeth play that thing. I should ask her, is that just for show, or do you actually play that thing? I refinished her music box not long ago to make it match her red. It's like a high gloss red rosewood baby grand piano. It's beautiful. And she had a little sheet music
yeah,
cabinet, and it was rough. And I also have a wood shop in my backyard that I do custom woodwork and refinishing and stuff like that. Like, sit back and I go, golly, man, I've got a lot of irons in the fire, a lot of ways, a lot of things I know how to do. That it's funny how at some point you kind of lose track of that in a sense, and it has
mhm,
to again be plucked out of you. The whole handyman thing just happened organically. The little girl that lived 5 doors up from here is now a realtor in the area. And back in 2019, I put on Facebook I was laid off and whatever, and she hollered at me and she said, "Hey, she had a house she's trying to sell and it needed a couple things done." She said, "Would you want to do it?" And I'm sitting around. They give me a good severance package and paid for my insurance for a while. I was okay, and I was just doing lots of yoga and having fun, trying to wait to see what God was going to bring to me. And next thing you know, she's calling. She calls me back. Her friends are calling me. Boom, 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 boom. And I made a living doing that for a bunch of years,
that's
and I really enjoyed it. Now I still have maybe, I don't know, I couldn't know how many, but I have some really good clients that I can't say no to.
I know, I know. I have a guy. I'm a single person, and I just bought a house for the first time in my life as a single person. I've had other houses, but it was with my former husband. But and then not for very long. And this was built in 1913.
Oh wow!
Yeah, she's an old girl. And my
I
guy,
did.
Bud Carl, he's got to be 80. He's got a cochlear implant. He's this like small, rangy guy with these bright, kind of like husky blue eyes. And he's very quiet and he's so thorough. And a friend of mine recommended him. And we're just like, I just want to like cling about his knees when he walks in the door because he's so good at what he does. And then when my nephew comes to visit, he likes to fix things. And so
Mm.
he fixes things I don't even know are broken in my house.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah,
That's
you got a new fridge. I'll hook up your water dispenser." It's like I'm a smart person, but I could have never figured out that damn water dispenser to save my life. So
yeah.
I have
Yeah.
huge respect for that. I'm really good at a lot of things, and fixing things is not one of them.
Yeah. I remember tagging along, I've always, and that's the same thing with my dad and my relationship is there's no way that we could live together unless we had this relationship we have, I don't think.
Yeah,
And
it's grown-ups.
it's great, really. And but when I was a little kid, he was like the handyman for his friend group, and he had these guys and these people, and he would say, "Hey, Dan, come on, we're going to go fix Jim's washing machine." And I don't ever remember like fighting that either, And I would go along with him, and I had no idea all these things I was learning,
Right.
And my grandfather, his dad had this wood shop, and when he passed away, all the tools came to us, and when something needed to be done, I know how to do this stuff, and I really just totally discarded, discounted everything that I knew in that realm until it became necessary. And then
Yeah.
in February, the director of the aftermarket department called me up and asked me if I'd come back part time. And my first thing was no, because I
Mm,
thought I'm never going back to work for somebody again. But then we talked and he changed my mind.
yeah.
And so now I'm doing both. I part time and I work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for that company that I worked for all those years. And Monday and
Oh,
Fridays, I podcast and handyman
that's great.
and whatever else, or take 4-day weekends when I want them.
Yeah, I haven't had a W-2 since 1991.
Wow.
I've been working for myself. A bunch of those years I was in a consulting firm. I was a business consultant. So I had some infrastructure around me, but it's been me making the buck, and the last 20 years I've been single. So it's been I have been blessed because I've never been rich, but I've always had what I needed. And there's an old gospel song that I heard that's been kind of tracking me, over the years. Like I heard it in Paris on transistor radio, and then I heard it. I kept hearing it, and the chorus is, "I don't believe you brought me this far to leave me."
Yeah.
You've heard that? That old song?
I haven't heard that, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm right here or not, but it seems like 12-step recovery's got as many like little one-liner and
Yeah,
cliches as
lots
any
of them.
group in the world. Of course,
Yeah.
some of them are all borrowed and everybody, like, again, there's nothing new under the sun kind of stuff. But we always say, he didn't bring me as far to kick me off the bus today.
Yeah, same
Uh,
idea. Yeah, and so I finally learned it. I was like, okay, song, I'll learn it. And now my little choir sings it from time to time. We don't sing it much out for people because it's kind of a barn burner, but it's just, I don't feel no ways tired. I come so far from where I started from, and nobody told me that the road would be easy, but I don't believe you brought me this far to leave me.
yeah.
And so I do feel like I have just been carried beautifully, and then I forget, and then I remember, and then I forget, and then I remember.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. The old footprints in the sand thing, that kind
yeah,
of
that
idea,
feeling.
that too, that yeah, it really has been. And I took a heck of a pay cut leaving that engineering job to go handyman, and I didn't really notice, you
Isn't it?
know, nothing really changed that much. I still could play, I still paid all the bills, you know, nothing really changed. And I was like, wow. And see, now it's flipped back around. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what do I do with all this?
That's a nice problem. Yeah, yeah, it is really strange. I just yeah, just how it changes, and I just moved from a city. I had an angel of a landlord who never raised my rent. It was under market when I moved in there, and 15 years later it was the same. And I mean, I understand why he gave me great rent because I like did tens of thousands of dollars worth of landscaping. We were like old school neighbors, very different people, but really great neighbors. And and even with that low rent, when I bought my house, the people I bought it from were friends of friends. They weren't motivated by money. They're artists, and they liked me. They knew of me, and they wanted me in their community, and they gave me an amazing deal. So my cost of living, whew, it went so low, and there's not much to spend. I mean, it's changed. My little town is like getting like a few nice restaurants coming in, but compared to the city, there's just not. I mean, I buy hiking pants and boots. That's what I spend a lot of money on. But there's just not a lot of. I'm a library user. I'm a bookworm. I hike a lot. I swim a lot. I kayak. Um, Hang out with friends. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yep. We sound a lot alike in that regard. That's
yeah,
a
yeah,
spend
yeah.
as much time as I can out at that cabin in the country. And there's something about that outside. I always think about it like I'll have all these cordless tools, right? That got batteries.
Yep.
And I that like the outdoors is like my battery charger,
Too.
and sometimes I can feel my levels going down just like yesterday. And I'm like, I need to get in the battery charger for a
Here
little
we
bit.
go. I take myself by the ear. We're going. Get her outside. She's acting
Yeah.
foolish.
Yeah. I get antsy. I get funny feeling. And today I can recognize what that is, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but I can I can make those corrections today where, I don't know, it's felt like so asleep for so many years in a sense, looking back at it in that fog of, you know, drinking every day. And I was, functioning alcoholic. I held my job. I had kids. I had, you know, uh, she decided to leave 13, 14 years ago or something. And that was actually the beginning of my end. That was kind of like pushed me over that cliff we talked about,
Yeah.
when that happened. So it was actually, and we're great today.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, it's
Uh,
possible. I'm really close to I call him my husband.
yeah.
We're good friends now that we're not married.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of same thing here too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I
That
try
was a
not to
short
call her
story.
my ex-wife. I usually refer to her as my kid's mom.
Yeah.
We were
Yeah.
we
The
were
X
married
thing.
for 17 years and together for 25.
Yeah. The X
But
thing.
the X thing just feels yucky.
That's really yucky. Before when we were separated but not yet divorced, he called me, which I loved, his future former wife, which is great. But now, I mean, I have husband, and he's been looking for, now he just calls me his friend. And he has since remarried and divorced again. And besides family, I was the first person he called to tell me
Oh yeah.
and to say thank you because because of our experience, he knew it was possible to go through that experience
Mm,
kindly and
yeah.
respectfully. It's
Yeah.
like, you're welcome. Yeah,
We're
but
pretty lucky.
we are pretty lucky. Well, I should go and get on with whatever's going to happen in my evening, but what
Yeah,
a
and I'll go
wonderful
down and hopefully
conversation.
see that IU maybe is going to win that national championship tonight. I don't know for
Yeah,
sure, but we'll go see here in a minute. And yes, it was very great to talk to you. I just love, like again, thank you for shining your light and doing what you do, and sharing it with us and my listeners. And this is just another blessing. I can't really totally digest that I get to meet these wonderful people like you.
my great pleasure. Same. I'm very excited. I'll remember you tucked in your three-generation house and hanging out in the woods and howling with the men. So thank you for the good work you're doing as well.
All righty, and I will be in touch when this comes out, and I do pretty quick.
Okay.
I don't wait around, so it'll come
All right.
out. And
I'll send you the song that I just sang, the whole in its entirety, and you can just that's a gift
link
to
it in.
you, and then I'll give you the Bandcamp link where people can just go listen to it. So
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, you enjoy the rest of your evening, and thank you very much.
you too, Dan. Take care.
Bye bye.